April 15th, 2013 will be remembered as the day that Boston was attacked. But not really just Boston, but the United States and its values. It was an attack that was felt not only in the US, but ripple effects around the world. And through the darkness of that attack and through the ugliness and the hatred came a light. A light that was so bright that it could overpower any lighthouse or overpower probably even the sun. And that brightness was the strength of the Boston people, the resilience of the people from Boston. And that really, in its true essence, is what the new film Patriots Day is all about. Patriots Day, directed by Peter Berg, who was no stranger to great cinema. And in this film, he does a very good job of depicting what happened several years ago in Boston. Now, when you think about movies about history, you think about movies like the Titanic or movies about, situations that have happened years and years and years ago. Here's a situation that just happened several years ago. So the main players that were involved are still very much around, and Peter Berg does a very good job of mixing in real life footage with cinematic footage in this movie. Now, this movie stars Mark Wahlberg. It also has John Goodman. Kevin Bacon's in this film as well, a host of other characters. Now, Mark Wahlberg's character is interesting because he seems to be the only fictitious character in the film. But of course, Mark Wahlberg and Peter Berg have been working pretty well together, Lone Survivor and Deepwater Horizon to name a few, so they're back again. Now, watching this film, I had to separate two things: the story of what actually happened and then the movie. So as far as the story is concerned, obviously it's a very gripping story, and it's tragic of what happened and how many people's lives were affected by it. But you're inspired by the strength of the Boston community and the community as a whole. And when I say as a whole, I mean the global community, because we've seen these senseless attacks over time, and we always see people bounce back because that's the resilience of the human spirit. As far as the movie is concerned, I think the movie did a really good job in terms of depicting what happened. And I was finding that I was learning different things and watching aspects of the film and saying, I didn't realize that happened, and I didn't realize that happened. And after you're going through and you're doing some research, you're like, yeah, those things actually happened. So from that perspective, I thought it was pretty good. Unfortunately, there are aspects of the film that seem to over Hollywoodize the story. Now, I guess that should make sense because I'm watching a movie. But Mark Wahlberg's character, for instance, I think Mark Wahlberg's a great actor, but it just seemed really interesting where he was always Johnny on the spot with all the big things that were happening in the film, as opposed to kind of spreading out the heroic antics between other people on the police force or the FBI task force. Overall, I think the story is very intense, and I think this is a very entertaining movie, and definitely a movie that you should go and see. Is it the best retelling of a real life event? Probably not. Does it get your emotions? Absolutely, because you're there and you're rooting on for the police, and you're just so inspired by all the things that you're seeing on the big screen. But then every so often, the movie comes along and it's just so Hollywoodized, it just kind of takes away from it. Overall, I give this movie a B, and I did enjoy it, and I do recommend you go and check it out to support this film. Again, a B is not a terrible grade by any means. It's a very entertaining film. It's just not as good as it could have been. So if you get a chance to see Patriots Day, I would love to know what you think. CFL_fan on Twitter, Facebook.com/WhittyWhittier, and WhittyWhittier.com. Thank you so much for checking this out. My name is Keith, and I'll see you at the movies.